Hey, this is Rob Swanson with the Real Estate Mogul Show. Let's get into it. Rob Swanson back here with another Real Estate Mogul Show. Hey, we got the crew in the studio today. We are all virtual today, and so you don't get to see the nice, comfy couch, and Edgar's not going to be jumping up and saying hello, but we got the show going nonetheless. And so we're going to be diving in. And today, what we're going to be doing is something that I want to encourage each and every one of you to do at least quarterly, if not monthly, if not weekly. And that is look in the rearview mirror and celebrate your wins. Because oftentimes it's the little things that did happen that you now forgot about because you've got your vision set on something new, and you don't stop and take the time to celebrate the good that has happened as a result of all of the hard work that you've done to this moment. So we're going to be diving into that, and we're going to be talking about some of the wins, some of the things that have been happening around here, and how they not only impact us, but how they impact you. And with that, welcome, gentlemen. How's it going?
Hey.
This feels weird. I'm not sitting beside Mike.
Yeah, I know, right?
And I'm not behind a wall.
Yeah. We get to I get to see all of you guys today. I don't have to look through cameras and lights and all of the stuff here in the studio. I actually get to see your faces. And Joe, I get to legitimately see you.
Right? Repping Freedom Soft,
Yeah.
The West Coast.
I like it. Yeah, so you're out on the West Coast right now, right?
Yeah, just enjoying family time. I'm bookending my trip of about a month with 2 birthdays, a golden birthday for my daughter, Brooklyn, who's the one that's been studying Spanish with me, and then my other daughter, Mercy, at the end of my trip. So, nice. And mine in the middle. So I'm really just came out to visit family, and one of the reasons we're testing out this new little format, which I kind of like. I like, seeing you guys.
Yeah, I like it too. It's cool. Mike, Henry, what's up?
So I am coming off of 3 weekends, or basically 3 weeks of people visiting. So one thing I'm excited about this coming up weekend is not having that. Granted, having family, friends in town is always great, but you have to keep up with schedules and making sure people are happy and seeing the things that they want to see. Yep. So I'm super excited to relax a little bit this coming up week. So have had that going on a lot this past 3 weeks on the real estate side. Closed a few deals, 2 actually in September. So that was good. Wholesale those 2, and then here coming up, looking to acquire another rental here pretty soon.
Nice. And for all of Henry's friends and family that are watching or listening to this,
that's right.
He has said nothing but good things about you, despite what you just heard. So
that's right.
He really does like and love you all.
I do very much so.
Mike, what's up?
Back to the rhythm. It's amazing how it wears you out when your normal rhythm gets thrown off.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
What was fun last week, I was bringing it up, is a friend of mine he races cars, amateur car racer, and so last year he won the runoffs, which is the amateur Super Bowl of car racing, and he's been trying for 20 years, and he finally won it. And so that was really fun to watch. It was actually when the hurricane rolled over Florida, but then the race was at Virginia International Raceway, and some remnants of the hurricane came up to the racetrack. And so he won last year in just a massive downpour and winds gusting to 45 plus miles an hour. So it was pretty wild.
Dang.
Anyway, he finally won it after 20 years, which was a big deal. And so I was talking to him afterwards, said, are you going to hang up your hat? Well, so Jason also has a younger brother, Steve, who drives. And Steve was a professional driver for a number of years. And so they're gifted behind the wheel. And so they said, no, I think we're going to go back one more year. We want to get Steve a national championship. And that's the plan. We're going to give it one more year before we, sort of hang this up and do some other things in the racing world. Anyway, they went back. So I was watching them over the weekend, YouTube live stream. and the plan worked. So last year Jay won, Steve finished second. The goal this year was they wanted Steve to win. They were going to race each other, but Steve won, Jay finished second, and it was just fun to watch. I don't know much about cars, but I like to think that I'm sort of a car guy. I don't know a whole lot about them. You could sell me blinker fluid, I'd probably buy it. But anyway, it was fun to watch just because I know him well. So I've known him for a long time. So it was fun to see him go take care of business. Yep.
Nice.
That was good.
That's cool. Hey, I will tell you, blinker fluid actually makes your car perform better. So,
right.
Yeah. I mean, I got a little bit in my office. If you got a 10 spot, I'll trade it. Even up.
Yep. Square it up.
All right, guys. Well, hey, so I am back from it's not been a vacation, but it's been a working 2 weeks. I've been out of the office a lot, working 2 weeks, but I flew in the new airplane 4,682 miles in the last 2 weeks. So that's a lot of flying. But what I can tell you is that it has allowed me to get to know the airplane in a lot of different conditions, meaning heavy loads, light loads, loaded up, full fuel, auxiliary tanks, empty, full, different temperatures outside, just airplane performance stuff that when you grab a new airplane, you can read the pilot operating handbook and it can tell you what the performance is. But how the plane responds and performs in the real world is not always necessarily exactly like what it says in the POH. The real world is different, as we know. Real estate investors, we know the real world is different than what the spreadsheet tells us. And so the same sort of thing happens in the piloting flying world. But here's what I've figured out. I figured out that with our normal payload in this new airplane, my wife and I, and as much baggage as she deems necessary to take on a particular trip, we can go full main fuel and full auxiliary fuel. So we can go all the way to heavy. And this plane takes off in just over 1,000 feet, even in hot temperatures, and climbs like a homesick angel. So it is awesome. And I was careful. I didn't want to overload and find that limitation in hot temperatures. We flew down to Houston en route to Tampa because we couldn't go direct, big thunderstorms in the middle of the country. So we had to go to Houston and then across the coast and then down into Florida. And so taking off out of Houston, I landed. We were packed pretty good. It was 93 degrees outside. It was hot, humid, but we were low elevation, near sea level. And at the end of the day, I had been testing, and so I kept going, and I was able to go full mains and full auxiliary, and we were off in 1,000 feet and just straight up to 15,000. So it was cool.
Incredible.
Rob, what's your comfort level in the new plane now after this?
Oh, I'm as comfortable in the new plane now as I was in the other plane.
Okay.
I'm figuring out. You figure out in the old plane, I knew all of its little quirks. I knew the things that were gonna flash at me, or I knew the little thing I was gonna hear, or I knew the whatever, right? And I knew what was causing it. And I just knew every little nut and bolt on that thing. And so I maybe don't know all of that to the level I do with the new plane, but I'm very comfortable. So
cool. It's
been fun. Yeah. So that's been a win for the last quarter, right? For all of you real estate guys that are listening to this show, right? Sometimes we buy more real estate because we want the depreciation, and then we do different, cost seg, and we do different things to maximize, accelerate, and just take depreciation on our real estate, whether it's residential or commercial. And I can tell you guys that even with the changes in the tax code, over the last couple of years, and we lost the beneficial 100% depreciation, I bought the new airplane partly because I wanted to go faster, but partly because I wanted a big tax write-off too. And I can still accelerate the depreciation on this airplane and reduce my tax liability. And so, I know a lot of people, they'll buy a new truck, they'll buy a new airplane, they'll do different things for their business, because you can either invest it in your business or you can give it to the government. And I don't know, I think I'm a better use of the resources than the government. So I'd rather buy the airplane, take the tax write-off. And here's the other thing. If there's a reason presidents of late don't share their taxes, because if America, if the masses knew what was possible, if you learn the tax code and treat the tax code like a blueprint, if the masses understood what was possible, they wouldn't believe it. And they would think that people couldn't fathom how you make a whole bunch of money and pay very little in taxes. People can't fathom it. I mean, buying an airplane, buying a truck, that's basic, like everyday kind of stuff. But when you get deeper into what's available, craziness, crazy town. All right, guys. Well, let's do this. Let's start talking a little bit about some of these Q3 recap wins. I don't know, guys, where should we start?
I mean, I think like a great place to start, because it's sort of foundational to what, this journey that real estate moguls go on, and that's your freedom formula. Like, you broke it down.
Yeah.
And that's all like foundationally placed on your statement of beliefs, and it leads to like this idea of life by design. And so I think a great place to start is like jump right into that freedom formula and remind, kind of maybe go over it, remind people like what it's all about. And, you talking about your airplane and those things, taking advantage of these taxes and all this stuff is because you walk down this freedom formula.
So, yeah, awesome. I think that's a great place to start, because I think that fundamentally people, especially when they're just getting started, they have a hard time believing what's possible.
Mm-hmm.
So many people have this mindset, I just got to get my first deal done, right? So that right there is a limiting mindset, meaning I got to get my first deal done. Is it possible? What is the bookend, the end of that belief or that goal? I got to get my first deal done is a ... but I'm not sure it's even possible. And so, what I want people to be thinking about is, when we talk about the freedom formula, it starts with phase one, and that is a cash generation phase, because most people need to figure out how to get their active earned income up. Most people make too little money, and they make the wrong kind of money. They make active income money that is tied to the hours they work, not the results they produce. And so one of the things that we teach as part of the freedom formula and as part of the Mogul Academy is that phase one is a cash generation phase. And what we want you to do is, inside or outside of real estate, and I don't care which, there's a transition. Oftentimes, you've got to get your active earned income higher. You've got to create margin. You've got to be able to stick cash in the bank. That's phase one. Phase one is figuring out how to get cash in the bank. Now, a lot of people, and we teach strategies of real estate to do that, right? Wholesaling is a great way to do that. Buying rentals with private money is a great way to do that. We've talked about all of these different strategies and techniques here on the Real Estate Mogul Show in the past. But there are strategies that can be applied in that first phase, which is all about cash generation. The second phase then is once you are good and confident and comfortable generating cash, it's converting that cash into cash flow. That's phase 2. And the goal with cash flow, and the reason we're looking back on this Q3 recap and kind of talking about the freedom formula is because phase 2 is the thing that most people move to as they get phase 1 working. And there's a flywheel effect that kind of spins them up and into phase 2. And phase 2 is get your passive income to exceed your monthly expenses. So your active income is cash generation. I want people to have the ability to generate cash on demand. And so when you need cash, I want you to know how to go get it. Then I want you to move right into the cash flow creation phase, and I want you to start to flywheel and get your passive income to grow on a steady basis.
And this is, Rob, this is exactly what Henry did. Like in this last quarter,
right.
You did, Henry, you bought 2 cash flowing properties. You're continuing to spin in the wholesaling. And so, I mean, and this has been a theme, right? Through the show, Henry's journey through this first phase and like, you know, taking that initial investment and plugging it in and then really being systematic about the whole thing. And so, I mean, it just speaks to like, we're experiencing exactly what you're talking about when you talk about the freedom formula.
Yeah. On that point too, it's like generating cash in phase 1 is great. It's fun, especially if you enjoy wholesaling and being on the phone with sellers. It can be very fun. But what was kind of freeing for me in general was entering into phase 2 and unlocking the next or world that a lot of people don't really dive into because they, again, like you mentioned, Rob, they connect earned money with the amount of effort and hours that they work. And
that's right.
That was always me. It still is me. But when you unlock the second side of it, where you do some work up front and then invest the money, that will then work for itself. And then every month via a wire or however your property management group has it set up, there is a business that is paying you and you had already done the work a month ago. Now, obviously, if the rentals aren't performing or there's vacancy, obviously you got to figure that out. But if they are performing at the level that you prepared them for, it's a very beneficial thing, and it's cool to experience it.
Well, and that's I'm glad, Joe, you jumped in and brought it back to the Q3 thing because that's where I was going to go with it. Is in Q3 we watched Henry move from the phase 1 cash generation into phase 2 cash flow creation. And it was what he just said. It was that moment when he did that the feeling of freedom hit him for the first time. Because up until that point, it was, you know, go out, kill it, drag it home, eat it. Go out, kill it, drag it home, eat it. Like caveman, like work. That's wholesaling. You got to do that. And when you get into phase 2, which is the cash flow creation side, all of a sudden the freedom of work I did one time pays me for a long time. And I always call this the trap. It's the real estate investor's trap, and it's TRAP. It's transactional and residual income, active and passive income. On the transactional and residual, it's the effort. And on the active or on the transactional and residual, it's the frequency. So it's one time versus many times getting paid versus AP, it's the effort, active versus passive. And so what you really want is you want RP income. You want recurring passive income that pays you from work you did one time, multiple times. And that's that second phase of the freedom formula. And so it's pretty cool to watch. Yeah. Now, with that, let me say this. Another piece of it is we have begun to watch some of our community members, some of our mogul members moving from phase 1 and into phase 2. And that's a cool thing to be able to see as well. And so as we look back over the last quarter, and with the release of and the opening of a new group within the Mogul Academy, and starting to watch people take those steps through the Freedom Formula, it's pretty doggone fun to watch people do it.
Yeah, and one of the things I think is so important to like look at is we're seeing them do it because they're building their skill, they're using those, the proximity to community to increase their knowledge, and they're taking those actionable steps along that journey. And it's you've talked about mindset and proximity so much over this last 3 months, and I think it's so important to like highlight those things, and they've been highlighted in pretty much Rob, all of our challenges, from the 4 flip to the 100 offer and virtual market, like get in proximity, use the tools that you have available, increase your skill and knowledge, and you begin to start seeing that other side of that other type of income coming in at some point.
Exactly. Well, and there's a reason that we focus so much on the Freedom Formula as the guide, because inside of that formula there are different paths that people can take, right? There are different tracks that you can go down. Look, if you have a high income job, if you're in, so let's say corporate America, and you have a high paying sales job that pays you a lot of money, you come into the Mogul Academy and you start to look at the Freedom Formula and say, cash generation, I'm there. My main gig pays me really well, or you own a small business, or you're a consultant in something. If you've got high active income, you might come in and say, you know what, I don't need to change anything in my life here. I need to take that high active income and move it right into phase 2, right into the cash flow generation and creation phase. And so, there's a proven path, but there are different tracks for different people. Not everybody starts in the same place. And that's why I don't just tell everybody, you got to start wholesaling. Well, let's look at where you're at. And is wholesaling the thing you have to do? Because wholesaling is a cash generation strategy. And if you have a lower earned active income, maybe wholesaling is that thing that helps you raise it up. But if you already have a high active income, you might be able to skip real estate strategies that develop high active income and go right into the cash flow creation phase. And so all of that flywheels into the third phase of the Freedom Formula, which is to become an accredited investor. Now, we tell people to do that only because it's a targeted goal, it's a measurable goal, and it opens up the fourth and the fifth phase. It opens everything up once you become accredited. And so there's nothing magic about it other than there is a legal definition from the IRS and the SEC about what an accredited investor is. But beyond that, it's about opening opportunity. And so we use the first 2 phases and all of the various strategies of real estate to flywheel yourself into phase 3, which is an accredited investor status. It's a status more than an action, phase 3.
Yeah.
And then from there, phase 3 opens phase 4 and phase 5, which is the ability to invest in alternative investments and expand your investment options, and then the legacy phase into phase 5. Most people spend most of their time, even when they hit legacy, back here flywheeling the first 2 phases. So it's not linear that you move from phase 1 to phase 2 and you forget about phase 1. That's why they're phases, And you can say, okay, I'm gonna put some effort into phase 1 right now. I'm gonna put some effort into phase 4 right now, right? If you've accomplished the objective of phase 1, 2, and 3, now you get to say, hey, I'm gonna put some effort into phase 4. I'm gonna expand my investment portfolio into some alternative things that are now open to me because I've accomplished and I've reached the pinnacle of phase 3. And you know what? I'm going to continue building my own portfolio. I'm going to continue to buy cash flowing assets. I'm going to invest in somebody and help them get a wholesaling business across the finish line and get going so that I can make some more active earned income. It's a beautiful thing. And it all comes back to our statements of belief, guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about these in the past. I won't go through them, but it starts with the fact that we believe that traditional investment advice is broken and that it enslaves most people. If you start there and say, yeah, I believe that, and you make decisions and choose things that buck the status quo, you get to break free from that bondage. And that's a pretty cool thing. That's why we call it the freedom formula, because if you subscribe to it, we show you the strategies, the tactics, the techniques to use real estate as a vehicle to break out of the traditional investment models. So it's fun, guys. We've talked about Mogul Academy a lot here. We did some challenges this last quarter that were a lot of fun. Talk to me about that.
Well, on that note, I thought it was pretty cool. One of our Academy members yesterday, so we did our monthly kickoff call to start off the month on the right foot. He was actually already a Freedom Soft user, but he joined the challenge, the 100 offer challenge, which was super early in the quarter. And he took that mindset to make sure he's consistently sending out offers. And I don't know if you saw it, Rob, but he chatted in that he was working through 2 under contract deals that he got from the 100 offer challenge. So I thought that was pretty cool as a cool win for that challenge in general.
Well, that is really cool. I didn't see that in the chat. There was a string of stuff, and I was trying to talk and keep up with it, but I must have missed that one. But that's neat, because the reason we did that challenge was specifically to teach people the habits that they can develop.
Get in the game.
Habits turn into something that you do on a regular basis. And what you do, if you do the right thing, produces the results you want. And so the 100 offer challenge was about creating that muscle memory, that habit of, hey, the number one KPI in your real estate investing business is how many offers did you make?
Yeah.
Made enough offers, you're going to be in the game.
Yeah, and I know, Mike, you always talk about mindset, so you may be able to build on this. But I think
just going to say.
Yeah, so one thing that I noticed, right, and it was only a small portion of it, but like we had people that did the challenge, sent out the offers, right, and changed their mindset and have deals under contract right now or have already closed those deals, right? But then you had a small portion of people whose mindset kind of went the opposite direction, Mike, and we're like, wait, this is just direct mail, right? And in general, like that was the vehicle to send the offer. They're indeed right, but that wasn't the point. Kind of like what Rob just said, it was to shift your mindset to make sure you're consistently making offers. So I just thought it was interesting that instead of choosing to shift their mindset and just do the work, they chose to let their mind limit themselves to, maybe thinking too much or something like that. But yeah.
Well, yeah, let's call it what it was. So if you know what to do and don't do it, fear will help you find a reason to not do it.
Right.
That's been my experience with working with investors over and over and over again. And I was having this was interesting. I was having a conversation with a guy outside of our challenges about this very thing. And honestly, I gave him kind of the tough love answer, which I think he needed to hear. He'd been through multiple programs, spent a bunch of money, hasn't done anything, and was blaming the programs.
Mm-hmm.
And I turned around and I told him, no, it's not the programs, because I've been on the other side of a lot of our programs, right? I'm the one teaching what to go do. And I said, you know, people either take the information and go do something with it, or they let fear get in their way, and they stay where they're at. And those are really the only two outcomes that I've experienced from being on the teaching side of what's going on. But so, you know, some people let fear get in the way, at least for now, not always. Right? There's a great story that came out of our group. And this guy was he was a part of the call yesterday, which was really cool to see him. But he had written down a goal when we first started working with him, and he sent me the piece of paper. He had written down a goal 10 years prior that he wanted to do his first wholesale transaction. So he'd been plugging away for a decade. And we helped him accomplish that. And now he's off closing more deals. And he plugged back in to the call yesterday, so it was cool to see his face again. But, you know, for some, they'll let fear get in the way now, but not forever. Some people may choose to never do anything, and that's their choice. But it's, you know, having access to the information is only, you know, and I was talking about this on the last challenge we did, but knowing what to do in the big picture, even though if you don't know what to do, it feels like everything, which I totally get. I get that. If you don't know how to wholesale a transaction, or, you know, what to say to a seller, all these things, I get it. It feels like that's 100% of what you need. But once you learn it, it's maybe 10% of what you need. The other 90% is you got to get your brain working for you instead of against you. Because if it's working against you, nothing happens. As soon as you get it working for you, and Rob, you mentioned the key word here is habit, but if you're in the habit of not making any offers, that particular habit will lead you towards a pipeline with nothing in it.
Right.
The power in the 100 offer challenge was, let's go reset that habit. And as soon as that new habit has been set, which, you know, a lot of experts on habits, I'm not one, but they claim it takes about 30 to 45 days typically of doing something consistently, and you create a new normal. And then there's a part in all of our brains, I have no idea what it's called, but it likes normal. And a lot of times, whether normal is good or bad, it likes normal. We like, for whatever reason, we like to go back to what we know. So if you can push through the discomfort of changing the habit, and the new habit becomes making offers, as soon as that new habit has been set, hey, there's Edgar's appearance. That part of your brain that likes normal will now automatically pull your business in the direction that you want it to go anyway. So, yeah, it's always an interesting conversation. There's the what to do, and then there's, you know, going to work on your belief system, which we did during the
four flip
challenge. Yeah, we did 3 of them.
We hit that hard,
we talked
Mike.
About it a lot, yeah.
And on the podcast too, we've been talking about that a lot because it's
the main thing.
It is. You have to change that belief. And Rob said it on the podcast before. He's like, you know, you're not going to hang around here long before you start changing your belief also, right? Because, and one, he can do that because there's proven systems, simple, scalable systems that he's put in place, a journey that's laid out for you. There's a goal there. There's different tracks, but it's available to you. Build your skill and knowledge, and then the action's on you. So if you put the action towards even increasing the skill and knowledge, it's been proven to work. So the belief should just fuel that like gas.
Yeah. So, you know, I hear somebody's been working real estate for 10 years and hasn't closed a deal. And I often step back and I think, man, what kept them in the game for that long? Like, how did they stick around and want to pursue real estate for 10 years and not get a deal across the finish line? And what was it that we did for them in their mind and in their skill and focusing their effort in the right areas that all of a sudden finally took them across the finish line? Because I know this story, right? And I know that that deal went across the finish line within, guys, what was it, like 60 days of starting to work with us?
Yeah, 45 to 60 days.
45 to 60 days. And so
Yep.
10 years and overnight success, right? But what was it that got him hooked on real estate and kept him connected to real estate that long? And so, somebody's listening to this and hearing, man, I'm in that. Maybe it wasn't 10 years, but maybe it's been a year. Maybe it's been 90 days. Maybe it's been a month, and they're feeling like, does it work? Right. And we talk about proximity all the time. You don't walk up and down the halls here at the office and ever wonder whether real estate investing works, because it's everywhere around you. Like success and the reality of it working is everywhere around you. So it's impossible to walk these halls and say, does it work? Right. But then you leave here and people can go get into their life, and maybe it's their spouse, maybe it's their kids, maybe it's their friends, maybe it's their coworkers, maybe it's fill in the blank on who it is. And there's disbelief and there's unbelief because they haven't experienced it and they don't live in proximity to that as a successful vehicle. Because it goes back to our statement of beliefs, that number one thing, traditional investment advice is broken and it enslaves most people. So most people get stuck into that belief system and they can't fathom something that bucks the status quo as success.
Yeah, that's why I like the freedom formula, Rob, because you mentioned it about 10 minutes ago, but you said, everyone in the academy is on their own journey, and we're not trying to make wholesalers of everybody, right? If Mr. Salesman that has commission checks out the wazoo, right, wants to buck the status quo because everything he's ever heard is you just place all that commission in a savings account or max out your IRA and then you can't touch it till you're X amount of age, right? Well, he's not letting any of that commission money work for itself for the next 40 years. And no one in his proximity, or maybe, he's never been around someone that says, well, here's another outlet that you can choose to go and do something with that money. And again, I assume this could get you down a large rabbit hole on why do you think that mainstream doesn't teach this stuff, right? But like that person, that avatar, doesn't hear that on a daily basis, right? They hear something completely opposite, which hits on that statement of belief number one. It quote unquote enslaves you into thinking that is how you escape the quote unquote matrix of it all, right?
Yep.
And it's actually not.
Yeah, I think that it goes to the number 3 statement in our statement of beliefs. Number 3, we believe that investing in real estate is not only a proven path to achieving financial freedom, but it's achievable by anyone willing to learn and take consistent action toward that goal, right? There's a difference between starting a business, owning a business, and building wealth through that versus buying an asset that is doing the work, right? Not everyone is cut out to be a business owner. Not everyone. And that's perfectly okay. Different people are wired in different ways. But everyone can own an asset and let the asset do the work. And real estate is an asset that does work for you in a meaningful way, whether it's market conditions, increasing price, building equity, whether it's rents going up and cash flowing better, whether it's depreciation, reducing your tax burdens. Like anybody can own real estate.
And there's never been a time, Rob, to speak to that. Like there's never been a time that it's been this easy to do this job. Like and the virtual market challenge spoke to that too. Like, your idea of skimming the easy, the easy deals off the top of some easy profit cities, like speaks to how we can use technology these days. And it's not, no matter where you fall on that freedom formula, where you fall in your investment phases, like you can use technology so much to your advantage these days. And again, accelerates another tool. You can accelerate what you're doing. And It's not like it once was. Like you say, anybody can do it. Yeah, anybody can do it. You know, it's just, do you want to put in time and effort to increase your skill and knowledge and activity?
And somebody's going to say, not everybody, not anybody, because not me. I don't have the money to do it. I don't have the money to invest in real estate. Guys, I hear this all the time. People that I know, like friends from, decades ago, on Facebook will still say, "Oh, it's so cool to see what you've done with real estate. I wish we could do that." Well, they can.
Mm-hmm.
They can.
Right.
And then they'll say, we just don't have the financial resources to do that or this or that or whatever right now. You know what that is? That's a lack of knowledge.
Right. And it's a limiting belief and a shift in perspective where, hey, it's maybe not about the money that you need to do this. Maybe you increase your skill, figure out how to creatively get yourself in the middle of something and make money there.
That's right.
And boom, you're off to the races and in the game.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Well, guys, I think we should probably bring this one closely to a close. I think it's been a fun reflection on the quarter, mostly around, I think, mindset. And I always tell people there's a couple things, right? You've got to decide to put in the effort. You have to learn to put in that effort at a sufficient level of skill. And when you do those two things and the skill rises to that appropriate level, you will produce the results you want. And so somebody's listening to this and saying, "Hey, I want to hear a little bit more about the Mogul Academy. I want to hear a little bit about this community that you guys have created." Guys, we think different than the masses. We buck the status quo. This isn't about turning everybody into the same exact type of real estate investor, but it is about creating a result. And that result is a life of freedom, financial freedom, time freedom, decision freedom, freedom in all areas of your life. And you can get there too. You can get there too. And so if you're hearing this and you're interested, what I encourage you to do is go to realestatemogul.com/apply and talk to one of the guys on my team here and just hear a little bit more about what we do inside the academy, what this community is about. Our monthly roundtable call yesterday was freaking awesome. And, if you're sitting here saying, "Man, I want to be around that more," Henry, you and I were talking just this morning about when you were getting into this and the end of the day, I've got my backpack on, I'm heading out the door, and you say something to me, and I walk over past your office, I go into the conference room, I flip the light on, and we spend the next 45 minutes whiteboarding out the answer to your question. And I mean, we went down creative finance deals, and we went down lease option deals, and we went down just straight up wholesale deals, and we went down exit strategy, and we went down financial calculator, like how to use it right to inform your decision. Like we went through so many 45-minute sessions, and that's what the Mogul Academy is about. It's about those ad hoc one-off sessions. It's about picking your goal, following your track, and then being in a community where these conversations happen that fill in the gaps in that moment that you need them to give you the motivation to take that next step and up level your skill. And super fun. So if you guys are hearing this and saying, "I'd like to be a part of that," realestatemogul.com/apply, go check it out. And beyond that, if you guys are enjoying this show, we ask you to like this on your social medias, share it as much as possible, share this on your favorite podcast player, and just let us know in the comments on YouTube. We like to come back here and we like to talk to you guys and hear what you have to say. And with that, that's a wrap, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Cheers.
See ya.
Yep.